Hey, good morning everybody. It's Rob here with Backpacking Adventures. What I'm going to do today real quickly is just show you how I go ahead and seam seal anything that needs seam sealing. Over the 2 years or so that I've been on hammock forums, a number of posts have talked about the SuperFly Tarp. It is a great tarp. I was fortunate enough to be able to pick one up in the for sale section. One thing that keeps reoccurring though is talking about the panel pulls and they leak. What I like to use is Silnet. It's silicone seam sealer. I believe that I picked mine up from Wilderness Logics, from Marty and the team at Wilderness Logics. And that's what I'm going to use now. The first thing to note, the way that I do it, is I go ahead and set my tarp up, but I set it up inside out so that the inside of the tarp is facing outside, and you can see that here with the inside stitching for the panel pulls. I don't try to get too scientific or anything with this, guys. I just put a generous amount on. Take my brush and try to work it all through in the area, anywhere where there's stitching. Again, I apply a pretty generous amount. Get behind the flaps. Anywhere you can. That's the extent of it. Move on over to the next one and to repeat the process. Apply a generous amount. I personally am not as worried about the aesthetics of what this looks like on the inside of my tarp. My main focus is staying dry. Little bottles of Silnet come with this little brush. After I get done with it, I just usually soak it in mineral spirits and try to clean it up so I can use it again. There may be a simpler, easier, cleaner, neater way to do this. This is just the way that I choose to do it. I don't get worried about the aesthetics of it. I just want to make sure that any possible place that the stitching went through for the panel pulls, that I've got plenty of goop on it so it doesn't leak through. Alright, I've gone around all four sides, gooped it on there pretty good, nice and thick. I'm going to let it sit for about 4 or 5 hours and I'll come out and check it, and I'll show you some pictures here once I'm all done. Alright, it's been about 3.5 hours and you can see this is all completely dry, not sticky to the touch. And the good news is the SuperFly is seam sealed at the pullouts. Here's the SuperFly all set up, ready to go. I've got tie outs on all four corners. I've got the pull mod going over top. I've got shock cord for all the doors, and I've seam sealed the panel pulls. Let's jump in and I'll show you how all this came together, and I'll show you a little bit of the details of the SuperFly. On my SuperFly, what I opted to do was use the panel pull attachments that Marty sells at Wilderness Logics, and then just the pulls that go up and over top. Okay, we can take a quick look at the detail of how I went about attaching my guy lines. My guy lines are the surgical tubing, so just a simple 1.5 inch or so fixed loop, the surgical tubing with a prusik knot, larks headed onto the pullouts. That's what allows me to tension up and keep good tension on the SuperFly. There's generally a few questions that come up pretty regularly on the doors and how do people rig the doors. I'll share with you how I do mine. Go ahead and get this attached. So simply what I do is I just tie a mitten hook onto a piece of shock cord. The shock cord is about half the length of the door. That's how I kind of judge it out. And then I just hook it onto the pulls that are attached to the SuperFly. And that pulls my doors and seals it off, makes it completely tight. In the event that I don't want to have my door closed, this is how I just loop it up around there and then simply just go ahead and attach it onto itself. That holds the door up out of place. It's the easiest way I found it. You can see I've got this one closed. And then there's the room inside the SuperFly. Doors closed down on that end. The poles going up over top create a lot of room. It's a great tarp. That's it. That's a SuperFly. Thanks for taking a look at it with me.